then going forward, just so we can have, in case there's questions after the fact. So, how can I help you? Tell me your story, please.
Well, Rowena and I have been seeing each other and
has it been always long distance?
Yes, I've gone to visit a few times, gone to Philippines to visit. Early on in our relationship, we tried doing a study permit and got refused because of home ties. Then went into spousal sponsorship as fiancés, I guess, because we aren't married. We're hoping to be fairly soon. I was kind of using the excuse that my work wouldn't allow me for taking any more than 2 weeks off. So.
And you filed that application?
We did, and then we got to a point where we weren't sure that long distance was going to work out. So eventually I withdrew the sponsorship, and we also tried in the meantime a visitor visa.
Hold on. So that withdrawal of sponsorship, at what stage? It's very crucial. Was it processed? Did they refund you the whole thing?
No, it had hit the Manila office, but it had not been processed. So I got refunded the application fees.
Refunded the full fees, and there's no refusal for that sponsorship.
No, they had never hit that stage.
Okay. And visitor visa, when was this?
It was during the sponsorship process, so I think it'll be 2 years ago now. And it was refused for the same reason, home ties.
When was the study permit application?
It would have been 2020.
Okay.
Sorry, 2022.
Okay. Okay, any other applications?
No.
Okay. And do you have any prior marriages for either one of you?
Yes, and I have divorce decree and everything from a previous marriage.
Okay. When was this?
My divorce was 5 years ago. And Rowena's had no prior marriages. She had her CNOMAR. We attached that to the application for sponsorship.
Okay. Rowena, have you traveled outside the Philippines?
So far, none yet.
I think your microphone's off, baby.
Oh, sorry. I haven't traveled outside yet, so we're actually planning.
No travels outside. Oh. Under 21 years old?
No.
Okay. Rowena, do you have any family in Saskatchewan or Canada?
No one. I don't have any relatives.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I don't have any relatives in Canada. Do you hear me?
Ron, can you confirm that? Does she have any family here?
She has no family in Canada, no. Your microphone doesn't seem to be working, baby.
And how many times did you?
And I'm planning going back in July this year.
Okay. Okay, I think because of the history of refusals already, the only pathway really is the spousal sponsorship. Okay. Spousal sponsorship from outside Canada takes currently about 10 to 14 months. And that is with including the medical exam. Okay? During this time, you are, once you have filed the sponsorship application and you have gotten the AOR, the acknowledgement of receipt, that is the time that she may be qualified for a visitor visa, like the one that you did before. Now, here's the catch. There's been caps of temporary residence in Canada for this year. It is our election year, so that's really the only primary reason, plus the ongoing tariff war with the United States. So we're in an economic, so they're really imposing on this cap. With regards to tourist visa, if it is a regular tourist visa, there are three key things that she needs to provide. The first thing is proof that she will return once the authorized stay is completed. So what documents can you show for this? Number one is an existing lease contract to her home or a land title. Okay, if in the Philippines, it's not usual that everyone is a homeowner. So even if it's your parents' home or your sister's home or whose ever home it is, get a contract, get a lease contract to show that it's ongoing, and that you have a place to return to. The second is she needs to be able to have a stamp, a travel history around Asia. This could be as cheap as Thailand, which requires no visa. A couple hundred Canadian dollars, you'll be in Thailand for a weekend. Good enough. You don't need long periods. But since of late, the officer has been looking at the travel history of the applicant. They are not believing that you're going to Canada for the first time and you haven't even been to Taiwan, which is 30 minutes away. Okay. Taiwan also, uh, so Taiwan also could be a country. It's very cheap to go. It's relatively the same conversion as the Philippines. So I would suggest you at least have a couple of stamps in your passport. This greatly helps your application. Japan is also an option. So Cebu Pacific, the local airline carrier, offers like the 999 peso fare. You know, do those little trips because we need stamps in your passport. And then the third is proof of funds. So proof of funds can be withdrawn or can be from your side, but make sure there's consistent amount. What rate for a Canadian stay is stated at 4,000 Canadian dollars. So that's the minimum show money that you should be putting in your account. And then optional but highly recommended is submitting a police clearance, an NBI clearance. This shows that you are not a fugitive of the country, right? So there is safe passage, safe return. Plus, you have travel insurance. So in Canada, woohoo, we have free healthcare here. So, but that what that doctors are obligated to treat you. So, Canada wants to hedge ourselves from potential misuse of the healthcare system because lately there's a lot, and unfortunately this is true for our country, there's a lot of Filipinos coming here and then giving birth here, right? Because that's the child citizenship, and then anyway it opens doors for them. It's the sort of the loophole in the system of the tourist applications. So those are the key things if you're going to try to submit a temporary resident visa. What it does is that it means that you don't have to wait um, outside Canada during the remainder of the processing period. Now, here's the catch though. While it's in process, you cannot basically work. So, Ron, you will have to really provide for her in this regard, as is with the sponsorship. Like, you're going to be responsible basically for the basic needs. So she won't qualify for any government benefits at all, including again healthcare. So it's very important that she has travel insurance. I have one client who was just rushed to the hospital. An ambulance here costs $4,000, just a trip to the emergency center, and they haven't even stuck a needle on her, you know. So those are the things that you just want to be prepared. But I'm afraid Canada is not the same as the US. We don't have fiance visa.
Mhm.
So she needs to stand on her own merit. The tourist visa needs to be heavily supported by her documents, and only, I would say, 5% on yours, Ron. Unless you have significant proof that you can support her, then in that case, on your side, it's all optional. Um, but if you are married at that point, what you can show is land title to show that she will stay rent free. She doesn't need that much show money. Second is that you have a full time permanent job, so a certificate of employment backed by your notice of assessment for 2024. So those are the key things. But there's no conjugal relationship submission, there's no common law partner for long distance relationships. Your only real option is to get married in order to support her to come. I would discourage again on a study permit. Right now there's a provincial cap for that, and it's already been filled for the whole 2024 and winter semester of 2025. So it's going to take a really long time if you want to try that route. Additionally, the show money for that route is now raised to around 50,000 Canadian dollars. So it's insane. They're really discouraging it because with this one, it's the Indian, unfortunately, the country of India has misused the system. They got in through the study permit because they have the money, but they did not complete their studies. So anyway, we're trying to rectify our immigration system right now by those new new rules. So anyway, I'll open the floor to you. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, so I guess what you're saying is the best possibility is number one, we get married, apply through a spousal sponsorship. Once we receive the AOR, the acknowledgement of receipt, which I believe is that's when they've agreed that I fulfill.
Correct.
So I received that letter before saying, yes, you qualify as a sponsor. Then at that point, we could apply for a temporary residence visa,
Correct.
and we would still have to show those three main points.
Correct.
So to clarify the proof of funds, you had mentioned that it could be me or her. Like,
Yes.
if I write a letter saying, well, we got a spousal sponsorship application in, and I write an affidavit or sign a declaration of some kind saying, yes, I will pay for all of her expenses while she's here and she will not work, which is perfectly fine. That would satisfy the proof.
Her coming right away. In another case, I even included the screenshot of the processing time and, used a backup that says Canada's immigration system is largely founded on the reunification of families. And so I want my spouse to be with me. So if you're applying for the tourist visa after the sponsorship has been filed, you're not a risk taker, you want to file it the way first, then that would suffice. A letter of invitation with your supporting documents would be good. However, there is an argument for applying before the sponsorship, because if she is successfully granted a Canadian visa, she's successfully granted a Canadian visa before you get married, which means you will get married here in Canada and not in the Philippines. The first option is marry in the Philippines, then apply for tourist visa. The second option is apply for tourist visa first and then marry in Canada. Because if that's the pathway that you choose, then we can apply for a work permit for her at the same time, which allows her to not leave Canada as a visitor. She can work at the same time. So there is sponsorship outside Canada, and then there's the sponsorship inside Canada. If you're going to do the second option though, there's a little bit more risk to her. It's not guaranteed. A tourist visa needs to really, really have sufficient proof to be approved in this year. There's been a lot of refusals on that lately. But another option that she can do is apply for a US visa first. Because having a US visa guarantees again for Canada that she doesn't need a visa for Canada. She will only need an ETA. So that's an option. Again, this largely, to be honest, depends on the stage of your relationship. And mostly, Ron, you will be the decider of this. Since you're the guy. So if you're both at the stage wherein you're getting married, you're not really concerned where, then get married in July. Go the safe route. But if you're in a stage wherein you want to try common law, right? Like you don't want to necessarily be tied right away. And that's an option. That's a fair relationship status in Canada. Then she could try first the tourist visa. It's only $100. It's very cheap compared to going the first route right away. So just try getting a US traveling first, a couple of weekends, one weekend here, next month, go to Vietnam, again, another cheap country to go to. When he comes, go to Thailand together. So those are the options. If she applies from inside Canada, though, the only thing is that she cannot leave. She becomes a prison until she gets her permanent residency. So if it's an inland application, the main concern is you're not able to leave Canada. So if you have obligations, Rowena, that's something that you need to consider.
Well, thank you. That ties, right? The travel history, I think, is pretty easy. We can, as you say, book flights when I'm there in July. We just a weekend go here, and
Correct.
she can go on a weekend with friends somewhere too and go for 2 days or whatever. Okay. Talking about having, so a bit of history for what she has in Philippines now. She doesn't have actual titles to parcels of land, but she does have sales. It's not the same as Canada, where you can have land holding
Deed.
rights without actually having title.
Yes. Yes. So deed of sale is acceptable, and then just get an affidavit from the land titles that it's legitimate.
So land titles, you mean it would be the local barangay?
Correct.
Because I'm trying to relate the Canadian versus the Philippine. So as long as, because she does have the sales agreements and everything set up and
Correct.
copies of that and the costs. The other thing also is that during our previous ones where I had sent some money for the study permit, because we had to show the funds, proof of funds there, when we had the difficulties, then she used that money to build a house on her family's lot. So if she can show that her a lease rate to have that house there, that qualifies?
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Those ones qualify. Another thing is she could be a trustee. So instead of a lease, so all decisions with regards to the property would fall on her. So it's called a trustee affidavit. That also works in the Philippines. And if she's the primary caregiver for aging parents, that's also a usual document that I show. So for example, she's the one authorized. It's like a special power of attorney,
Okay.
Lorena. So it shows there that she's the one who has the rights to sell, dispose of, and act on behalf of whoever is the named owner on the land title, and also the primary caretaker and representative in pension. So whatever you can show that you are legally responsible for someone, that really helps. Even in a negative sense that can be turned into positive, even can qualify as proof of connection to a home country. So if you have just register something if you're on sales, online sales, or yeah, anything that's contract or gain to show that you are there's ties, right? There's ties. It's and then at the end of the letter, just don't say um that you will return like right? So it's sort of a balance of, I have ties in the Philippines, but at the same time, if we're married, I want to be with my husband. It's insane to be in a relationship that's long distance, and now its foundation is family reunification. So there's that aspect, and then there's the other aspect of, but you know what, if you don't want, I have this, right? Like, this is my proof. I'm on a travel insurance obligations also to my family in the Philippines. So it's a balance of both. The way we craft the letter matters, but usually it's summary of points. Don't go for the long. Most officers are Gen Zs, for lack of a better term. they won't read your 3-4 pages long, right? So, but if it's in summary bullet points, here's the qualification based on Immigration, Refugee Protection and Regulations Act. So I always state the act and the regulations. This is why we say, and yeah, but then again, tourist visa is never guaranteed. The reason for it, it's very cheap.
So on
They
that
could
one,
just use your money for it. So,
so on that note, let's say we'll talk about which method we will do, but if we apply to the Philippines and then, okay, so there's no, the way I kind of understand it, then there's really no jeopardy in us applying for a TRV right away if we think we have enough home ties and everything.
correct. There's no jeopardy in that. It doesn't affect. In fact, the offices don't even share information. So the Canadian, there's no issues.
Okay, okay, I like that, makes sense. Touching on the US visa side of the current situation, her being able to get a US visa, is it more likely than getting a TRV in Canada?
The reason for it, and I've only done it once. I will be honest with you, I've only done it once and it worked. So it happened with similarly to a client that's in pretty much your case. But what we said is regardless of what's going on in the economy, she's not applying as a worker,
Okay.
right? Or as a student. Those are the red flag items. But for the US, the reason why I mentioned it is because they are in this, even within their country, there's a lot of issues with immigration. But what you could do for a tourist visa, and it worked for one of my clients again, is they are on a honeymoon stage. So what they put in the application for US visa is that you're going to be married in Vegas, for example. That it's a common US practice, and you want to tour Nevada and Arizona and Los Angeles, California, so those are the um reasons for the US that it's been really working lately. Not for students, not for workers, but for tourist visa. You just say, I want to get married. Um, we're getting married, and my husband, um, it's quicker for him to go to the US and than to the Philippines. So she will still use you, but yeah, and we want to spend our honeymoon there for a week. But the other thing though is show money is the same for both countries. So the ties would still need to be shown, but it's just another another pathway if the tourist visa for Canada fails. And it's quicker because there US requires an interview. So she literally just goes to the US embassy, they interview her, they give her the visa on the spot or not.
Oh, okay. Okay, and would it help that she has a cousin that married students?
Yep. Yep. So those are the reasons. And you say, I'm really close with this cousin. We're getting married. That's why we want to do it there. Both of them are there. So it just, it should be a simple pretty good relationship better than Canada, US right now.
Okay.
Because the US is using our Subic Air Base as their
And
yeah,
kind of helping out against China. So
correct. Military, yeah. A lot of immigration is really tied to politics. So it's
yeah.
again, it is an option. Try to see which one you think is best for you, and then really applications. It's you're only going to be denied for temporary applications. Any permanent application, as long as you're married, is guaranteed.
Okay.
Right. But the temporary applications is where you kind of it's sometimes I feel like you really need to be as crafty as you can be to prove all these ties, because at the end of the day it's a human decision. Like, are they convinced? It's very 50-50 at this point, and the only thing we can really do is submit the documents. $100, they don't care. So
Okay.
same. The funny thing is, the same submission. Same everything, just
And I guess recircling back to the proof of funds, you said and it would be a Philippine account, I'm assuming, because I don't know how she'd get a Canadian account without being resident. But so just to show that she's got at least 4,000 Canadian available.
correct.
And if I have a letter of support saying, well, here's my income, and yes, I can easily support her without working, combination of that. Basically, so she has airfare to and from, right?
Correct. Airfare is it's quite expensive. So for me, like purchasing airfare, unless it's refundable, I don't usually include it. It's
Okay.
it's part of the old process that
Okay.
now what they're really more looking for is contractual, travel history, and security. So contractual is anything that she needs to go back to, and then security is travel insurance and police clearance. She's a safe traveler, and even if she's here, she's covered by insurance, so no worries about health. And then the third is travel history. Again, just rationally, she's been to the closer countries. Now she has met someone, and so those three things.
Okay. Good. No, I appreciate that. That's so based on our circumstances, given kind of our history and everything. If you were
Um,
the safest, I guess, the most,
yeah,
the highest
the,
percentage of it. I mean, obviously,
I
the spousal would work 100%. It's just a matter of the time.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, option 3 is the safest route and the cheapest, right? You don't really have to prove anything. You just need your marriage certificate, 10 to 20 pictures, proof of your communication, and then your ticket to show that you visited her 4 times. That's good enough for the spousal. It's a long waiting game.
Sorry, you said option 3. Was that kind of the
Option
US?
3 is just you apply for sponsorship. There's
Okay.
no other temporary visas, and she just waits it out
Okay.
outside Canada.
Sorry, I was thinking option 3 was the US visa.
Oh,
route.
that's option 2. I would call that option 2. So
Okay.
that one, I would only do that if you're choosing to marry here in North America, either US or Canada. Because option 2 basically gives her it's 3 applications, but I would say it's the highest risk, highest reward kind of thing. Because she gets a visa, she can work while waiting, and then she doesn't need to go home. So
Okay.
it's like if all the stars aligned, I would do option 2. If money is not an issue, if home ties is not an issue, option 2. Because if you're a visitor in Canada without doing anything, that's also not good, right? Like at least she has the option of working and being useful, and again earning money as well. And then option 1, I would say, is getting married outside Canada. The likelihood of refusal for the tourist visa though is higher,
Okay.
because with option 1, she now has equal ties. She has ties to you and ties to family in the Philippines. So officers are more inclined to deny this because of what we call the dual intent.
Okay.
They know already that she's not gonna leave because she's already married to you, right?
So that also then, to me, kind of with option 2, where she comes here temporary resident visa with the intent of getting married in Canada, follows suit that if she is
but
supporting family,
option 2, they don't know that yet.
right, because it's 2 different departments that deal on things that don't talk back and forth.
Correct.
So even if in the temporary resident visa with option 2, we're saying we have the intent of being married in Canada, they're going to go, who cares?
Correct.
Okay. So the intent, yeah, because that's the other part, is the intent of the officer. It's okay. So then so I guess just kind of playing it through. So we went through option 2, and let's say she gets her temporary residence visa approved to come to Canada. At that point is when, well, we get married, and then we would apply for the sponsorship here.
Correct.
Okay, and then
the
once we get the
sponsorship
sponsorship
here, with the sponsorship here, she gets close work. Sorry. Open work.
proposal umbrella.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense. And that would be somewhat similar to, so then the US visa route. Okay. So I guess the 2 main things that I think Rowena would have to, well, and I hope it's not a worry, but once we do an in Canada sponsorship, that means she's here until the PR is processed. She
Correct.
can't leave the country, but she has the availability to work.
Correct.
If we do the outside of Canada marriage, she can potentially come here on the TRV, but she'll have to do volunteer work to fill her day up.
Correct.
Until the PR is approved, then she is like a Canadian citizen and can do whatever.
Correct.
Okay. So regardless, it sounds like we need to go traveling to a couple Asian countries, regardless of which way we're going, to establish that, because we would need it for any type of temporary application.
Correct.
The money part I'm not worried about. I've got ample funds to show proof of funds. That's not a concern, or income is no problem. And then if we can also show her home ties, that she has a lease and that she actually put money into building the house on there. So
Correct.
she would basically be saying, that's my house there, but it's my family's property. So I'm paying them monthly rent for the privilege of having my house there.
Correct.
Okay. Good. I like that. That's,
yeah.
There's
a lot of options.
and options are good as long as we,
yeah,
you know, and we just need to decide, because I'm certainly, well, Rowena and I have talked about it, that I think our goal is that we want to be married as soon as possible. To to help support us being together as soon as possible. But I also don't want to have it to where she feels that she's uncomfortable in any situation
For
there.
sure,
But
for sure.
considering we're getting married, there
Yeah.
shouldn't be a big concern. But
Yeah.
I also want to make sure that she gets the wedding and the ceremony and everything that she wants as well. So if we get married in the US or Canada, it would be functional to get the paperwork done, but we would still have to arrange to go back to family and have the lechon and the party and everything. So that's
Where are you from the Philippines? Like which place, which city?
BGC in Taguig or just in Manila. There's no connection.
Oh my.
oh, okay. And
And Naia, yes, that's I grew up there for 21 years. That was my backyard. And so I miss the airplanes and the sounds of it. Like moving to Canada, I couldn't sleep. Because there's and then I studied in Manila, like a Chinese school in Manila. So I would commute about an hour to go to school every day before. But yeah, I do miss it, but at the same time, I don't. Last time I've been there was 22 for a wedding of one of my friends. So, but I haven't been back since.
she's originally from Masbate.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, it's good.
So kind of the intent is eventually, well, my goal is that we are able to spend summers and that in Canada were pretty nice. And then during winters, we can go back and stay in our house in Masbate and then
that sounds like a great plan. I think I need to start thinking about retirement too. Like that sounds like a grand plan, you know. I really miss my ates. You know, it's a common practice there to have helpers in the house, and I'm single, and sometimes I eat out of a box, you know. It's just I miss the home cooked meals, and I'll have our caretaker in one of our houses in the province. So she raised me up. She helped raise me up, and we treat them like family. So those are the ones that I miss the most, really. It's the food and the people, and but not the traffic. Definitely not the traffic and the politics. It's crazy, right? But each country has its pros and cons.
Yeah, it sorry, just seems my so
yeah, I studied at the U of R, and then eventually I did my immigration law policy and procedures. It's just a certificate diploma through UBC, and then passed the board, and it's mostly right now my focus on work is to help farmers. Because there's a lot of Mexicans not able to extend their workers and their work permits anymore. So there's a shortage in the province, and there's always going to be a shortage in Saskatchewan, as you may know. Maybe not for other provinces, but here, healthcare workers, construction workers, you know, how do we grow as a province without people? They capped us from 7,000 to 3,000 already. So it's just without that, every year we're on a negative growth, right? It's people just using our province to get residency and then moving to Alberta, moving to Toronto. I mean, it's understandable, but at the same time, we're in a sort of a hole that keeps just circling and circling down, and I don't know how we.
Saskatchewan's a net exporter of talent.
Correct.
That's where I do find Philippines and Canada in general are fairly similar, and I've been
Mhm.
trying to learn much more about Filipino culture. But from what I have learned, I think Saskatchewan and Filipino are even a closer alignment just because of the
Yeah.
rural and
Yes,
help your
rural
neighbor
connection. And
and
Filipinos are more patient, I would say, compared to my other clients. Like I work with Chinese, they're all in BC. They're not gonna work the local Tim Hortons job, you know. Never gonna happen. Never seen a Chinese in a drive-through, you know.
they
But
own their own restaurant
they
because
won't
grandma and grandpa
work. They
did. And
won't work, you know. It's
good.
but
Rowena, do you have any questions or
yes.
concerns on?
No, I'm just
Okay,
listening.
just so you know, Rowena, we can have a group chat if you guys want. I'll give you my cell phone number. So WhatsApp is my preferred method, or Messenger. I also have Messenger, but sometimes the Messenger gets full right away, and there's so many inquiries. So I prefer my local number. If you would like to have a, you know, the consultation is good for the entire application. Regardless whether you use me as representative or not, you can message me anytime. There's no additional fee for that. It's just one consultation fee. You're just asking a question that's covered by today's charge. But if you are going to use me as representative, I listed my rates here. This is not including what we will pay IRCC. But in summary, I put option one is FS is your in their chat here, if you can see on the right. It includes taxes and everything. FS is family sponsorship and a TRV, so it's a package. Option two is for 3 applications: a tourist visa, a family sponsorship, and an open work permit. And then the third option is just to, this is my rate to do the entire application from beginning to end.
Okay. And we'll, yeah, once we figure out what method we're going to do, we'll kind of
For sure.
decide. Being that we've gone through kind of a couple, 3 times ourselves and assembled, it's not
Well,
a fun thing to do.
It's a decision. It's not a light decision to do, right? So, yeah. Anyway, just let me know, or um, e- 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 or text or chat.